So a few years back, actually many years back, I was at an event where seniors, every year, there's a huge event. We're in a huge college auditorium, and our seniors would take the stage and they would share their, college or career intentions. So many of them would share their pennant of the college they were going to, or shirt or hat. Many of them decided to go into the military. Lots of them decided on going to community colleges or trade schools, wherever they decided they were headed. And I remember one of my students, just proudly shows his pennant, and I am floored, just absolutely, in the stands, in tears, just really, really excited for this particular student, because when I had taught him as a sophomore, he had barely been in the country for 2 years. And so he was truly an emerging bilingual and working really, really hard to attain this new language, both conversationally as well as academically. And don't get me wrong, he was doing an amazing job, but to see him, get here, to be able to go to school, really just put his all into his learning, and that outcome, be accepted into one of the top colleges in the state it was just an amazing feeling. And so after the event, when I saw him, I just had to tell him, I'm just incredibly proud of you. And, he thanks me, for all how hard I pushed him and everything from class. And, he says to me, Miss Ray, I'm really excited about being accepted here, but I actually don't think I'm going to be able to go. I was tell me more, why do you feel that way? And, because of his documentation status, he at the time was eligible for state aid, but not federal aid. And he truly didn't believe he was going to have enough funding to be able to go to, yes, this amazing university, but very costly university. And I remember walking away from that conversation, just really thinking about, just someone who has been in education for a long time and truly, thriving off of this mission that we are creating a space and a world where our students can have choice-filled lives. And here is a student who has this choice in front of them, and it's more so a dangling carrot than it is a choice. And it just really, really got under my skin, and it has since then been a big driving factor for me in thinking about how can I be better? How can I prepare my students better? How can I advocate stronger? How can I get more involved with the needs of the communities that I serve? What is it that I can do? And part of that decision-making process was actually becoming a national board certified teacher. And even in that process, I found myself utterly alone. And during that time, there were no financial benefits of taking on national board certification. Therefore, there weren't a lot of people to call on or lean on. And with that, it really now, as someone who is certified, it now is also a driving factor for me of how do I increase my impact to serve as many students as possible? And how do I increase my impact to serve as many teachers as possible? And how do I be the person that I needed as a student, as a teacher, as a candidate? How do I continue to be that person and grow into that particular person? And that is definitely a long-winded way to share what my why is and what has brought me to this work, and what really pushes me to continue coaching, to really build these strong relationships with teachers and be available for teachers when they need. My approach to mentoring and coaching is really based on the foundation of honor. I believe a teacher can only really grow under the wing of someone who honors who they are completely. honors all the intersectionalities of their identity, honors where that person is in their professional journey, and honors like their why of why they're in the profession, even if that why is different from theirs, even if their professional journey is different from theirs, and even if that identity is different from theirs. There is an honor of that whole person and still being invested in that person and their growth. The most important principle is intentional relationship building. I mean, anyone can tell you meetings and outcomes don't get that far if we don't actually like each other or know one another. Like we're not going to dig as deep. We're not going to be as trusting. We're not going to be willing to talk about the hard stuff. And so relationship building is key. That trust, that safety, those things have to be there in order for that relationship and that coaching and the person who is being coached to thrive, as well as the person who is learning and developing into a stronger coach. I believe mentees and students learn the way they learn. I know that's not a super specific question, but I think it is specific to the person who is learning. There are some people that I have coached and mentored and or managed in the past who are like, I need to hear all the positive feedback before you give me the critical thing. I need you to butter me up, right? I really need that. And then I've had people who are like, you can skip all of the things that I did really well. I actually want to spend the majority of our time together brainstorming solutions on the critical feedback. I want to walk away with ideas on how to get better. So I answer that to say, like, I don't know how a specific mentee or, student is going to learn until I learn them and understand what it is that helps them thrive. And then I do the adjusting to ensure that they can. One of my main values as a leader is people first. With this, like, my approach is often to ensure that my mentee or my student or my coach feels valued, they feel heard, they feel safe, they really feel like they can be their most authentic selves in the space that we create. And even more, they feel empowered to give me feedback as their coach. If they do not feel like that they can, step out and say, hey, actually, didn't really love when we did this particular thing, or actually, can we continue doing this? Like, I feel like this was really, really helpful. If they don't feel comfortable to say that or to give me that feedback, then that lets me know, okay, we've got work to do. We've got more relationship building to do, because there's a barrier and we're gonna have to break past it in order to get closer to our goals. But I do this, like I often will pulse check where we are, where my coachee is or student is, by giving a feedback or giving a survey, and just like getting that feedback, how can I adjust? How can I serve you better? What is it that you need? And then being open and willing to say, I hear you. Here's how I'm going to adjust. And as we, go through this process, tell me, how can it get better? Lastly, in terms of thinking about really adding to a mentee's self-efficacy and how I can cultivate that sense of belonging, I think that I'll improve my mentee self-efficacy in building a trusting and safe space where authentic conversation can thrive. Like that's bottom line. There has to be this openness when we, come together. That person, I want them to feel as comfortable as possible to bring like the woes of the day to me, to be able to like navigate, really pinpointing, here are my strengths, here are my areas of opportunity, here's how I can use my strengths to drive away some of these areas, opportunities, and turn those into strengths. I really want to make it clear to them that like I'm walking alongside of you. I'm not the decision maker on your campus, in your classroom. However, as you are going through what you're going through, or tackling what you're tackling, or really, curating what you're curating, whatever it is, I'm here alongside you, and I'm willing to help in any way that I can, while honoring full autonomy for my mentee on what's prioritized and how we work.